Hello, it's Greg Grizzled and Gaijin. We're back. We hope you're having a happy day wherever you're listening to this audio content from. As always, we'd like to thank you for your continued support of Greg Grizzled and Gaijin social media and writing efforts. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This is episode 021 of the Greg Grizzled and Gaijin, definitely not a podcast show, a light and fluffy look at social media, Japan, Japanese food, expat life, and life in general. As always, your retweets of this and all the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful content that we actively tweet and retweet out on Craig Hoffman 11 on Twitter is appreciated. Thank you in advance for your help in getting the good word out about Greg Grizzled and Gaijin. Good show today. We're talking about low power expat mode. I thought of this week as I was addressing my cell phone problem. You see, recently my battery has been draining at an alarming rate, so much so that I was finding my current cell phone basically worthless in a matter of minutes, despite leaving my house every morning fully charged. I went on the internet, as one does, and YouTube is great for everything, and I found some hints, tips, and tricks to try to increase my cell phone's battery life to something that was at least semi-useful. I would just go get another cell phone, but my current cell phone company said that I cannot get a new cell phone until at least next February without paying a substantial penalty. And if you followed me for any length of time, you know that I'm a very, very, very cheap person. I prefer frugal. My wife prefers stingy SOB, but I digress. And so I was able to find some good advice for fixing my cell phone, including one great trick, the low power mode. If you don't know that, you should, especially if you're an iPhone user. If you drop below 80% and you go to your settings, you can slide over into the battery and you can create a low battery mode for your phone. This allows you to shut off some notifications. It really changes very little about your phone, but it extends the battery life up to, I believe I read something like 30 to 35%. And for me, I started running my iPhone 24/7 in low battery power mode, and it's made my phone once again somewhat useful. It didn't solve every problem. My iPhone does tell me that I should probably get a new battery, but again, I'm too cheap to do that and spend like the 3,000 or 4,000 yen. So I'm going to just grin and bear it until at least next February, when I have to drop somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,000 for a new cell phone for the next couple of years. It got me thinking about expats, though. A lot of new expats go here in Japan, and they put the pedal to the metal, especially early on. And I see a lot of new foreigners get sick, and that's unfortunate. I knew a foreigner who got off the plane, and the next day he was in a hospital ill. The shock to his system and the jet lag was just too much for him. And so the first impression his school had of him was that he was kind of, quote unquote, weak and couldn't really handle Japan, and they worried about him for the rest of his time in Japan, always asking, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And it was funny because he wondered why they would do that, and I said, well, of course, your first impression was that you missed 3 or 4 days of school. Hello, I'm sick, I need to go to the hospital, is not the best way to introduce yourself to your new employer here in Japan, or likely anywhere. But I knew another girl who came here very, very excited to see all that Japan had to offer, as one should. Most foreigners do not live a lifetime here. They come for 1, 2, or 3 years. Now the JET program, for example, up to 5, and they go back and on with their lives. That girl went every weekend out with her friends, traveling and drinking and doing everything that she could, and magically she could never find the energy to come to work on Monday. Now, by chance, I knew a Japanese English teacher that she was working with, and that teacher wrote me, as she often did, and she casually mentioned that it was a running joke that Nani Sensei was never going to come to school on Monday. And I kind of took the hint that I should mention to that foreigner that, hey, you might want to come to school on Monday. And I went to the foreigner in a bar, a local bar that we had. We were all drinking, and over a beer or two, I did mention, hey, they kind of laugh when you don't come to school on Monday. And the foreigner was really shocked and almost in tears that somebody had criticized her for not coming to work. And I said, well, it's understandable. It's Japan. Everybody works. She goes, well, I'm not Japanese. I'm not here to work. And I kind of hesitated and stopped. I said, well, what are you here to do? She goes, I'm here for me. And I took a drink of my beer and I put the glass down and I paid the bill. She said, where are you going? I said, I'm going home. And she said, why? I said, I have work tomorrow. And she said, so do I. And I said, but I'll be there. And I'm actually going to work. Now that seems really harsh and really blunt, but that girl simply did not get, quote unquote, why people should really be here. You're very fortunate when you get to live in a foreign country and you get to work and live among people from different backgrounds and cultures. It's one of the best things I've ever done in my life. I've said before, I was a small Midwest guy. I had never even been on a plane before I came to Japan. My world view was so narrow and limited and albeit ultra conservative. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm still rather conservative in some respects. But to realize that people can live happily and be successful in life, never believing, never doing, and never living where I grew up was a great thing for my life. People are often moved by things I write on my blog, and they're often interested in these videos and things that I talk about. I find nothing special about that. I talk about life from a very unique perspective as a person who struggled in America despite high energy and effort. And I talk about my life now in Japan as a person who gives a full effort to my life. And I'm still amazed and to some degree disappointed when I see foreigners, young, old, short-term and long-term, whether they're English teachers or working in a company, whether they're working at a convenience store or sweeping a floor, even for peanuts. How people miss the big picture that you're doing something in life that 99% of the people in the world will never, ever have the opportunity to do. I don't love what I do for a living. I don't love everything about Japan. There are things that annoy me. When people don't stop at a stop sign, despite it being red and I'm clearly walking in the crosswalk, I'm not amused by that. But the overall view of my life and experience in Japan, I know is an extraordinary opportunity to grow as a human being. And wherever you are living and whatever you are doing, and whether your situation is good or bad, whether you're even ambivalent about your life and existence or even your relationships, I hope that you make a conscious choice to not live your life in low energy mode, but instead click that button to the side, push forward each and every second of every day you are fortunate enough to be alive, and give life your best full energy. And like me, I'm sure that whether your life results match your grand dreams or not, you can find peace and contentment on the inside of your heart and mind that will be sustainable and allow you to go about your day happily. That's it, and have a great day.